Now that we have markup of navigation mainly ready, it is time to implement the behavior of automatic highlighting the active menu item. And for that we're going to have to store the name of the currently active page in a variable. Inside of the now component we'll declare new constant called current page to store value of the currently active page. Initial value for this constant will be timeline. And now we're gonna assign another attribute to the now item component called class. And we're going to bind value for this attribute by using object notation. Keys of this object will correspond to CSS class names, and the value will be an expression which will evaluate to truthy or falsy. And depending on this value, Vue is gonna decide whether to assign the class specified as a key to this component or not. For example, let's try to assign a class which specifies background color BG gray 200. And since earlier inside of component now item we have disabled default attribute inheritance, all attributes that are specified directly on the component tag will automatically be inherited by the element which has this vbind directive with the value of $authors. And as you can see, we already have a few classes defined on this element. So those other classes that are going to be specified from outside inside of this class attribute, they are going to be merged with the rest of classes. Let's just improve this expression a bit. On every loop iteration we're gonna check if page variable equals to current page variable. And if so, we're going to assign class bggray200 to the current menu item. Let's check it out in Vue DevTools, and right here, when we select the now component on the right side, we can see that the property current page contains the name of the first page, which is timeline. And at the same time, first menu item has gray background. And if we try to change the value of this current page variable, for example, let's use activities. In this case, we'll see that the second menu item is highlighted. So everything works as expected so far, and the class attribute is inherited by the anchor tag within navItem component. And the next task would be to listen for clicks on this anchor element, so that this navItem component can send a signal to the parent component, which in this case is the now component. And there is another directive in Vue which lets us bind event listeners. This directive is called vOn, and by using colon we specify which event exactly we'd like to bind listener for. Here we're assigning listener for the click event on the anchor tag. And once this event occurs, whenever user clicks on one of the menu items, we're going to update the value inside of current page variable, which contains the name of the current page. And when this variable gets updated, it will be good that template parts where this variable is used will be also updated automatically to reflect our latest state inside of this component. So ideally this expression would be evaluated again so that new menu item will get highlighted. Let's see if that works. Initial value of the current page variable is activities, and whenever I start clicking on other menu items, we can see that that value updates. But in the UI nothing really gets updated, and currently selected menu item is not highlighted. That is because at the time current page variable is normal JavaScript variable, and Vue automatically does not monitor changes within this variable. So we need to use a special Vue function called ref, which we import from the Vue package. And by using this function we'll be able to make any variable reactive, to make Vue automatically listen for changes inside of such reactive variables. And if such variables will be used inside of template, Vue could automatically re-render DOM structure. So now let's use this ref function to make current page variable reactive. And this function also optionally accepts initial value for this reactive variable. And now that we made this variable reactive, whenever we will modify value inside of this variable, and just because this reactive variable is also used inside of our template, Vue should detect changes in this variable, and based on the new value of this variable, it will automatically re-render certain parts of our template. And in our case, this class bggray200 will be applied to the appropriate menu item. And right away in Vue DevTools we can see a little hint that current page variable is a reactive variable. And this time, if we're gonna click on different menu items, we will see that the value of this variable will be updated. And in addition to that, currently selected menu item also gets highlighted. So our reactivity is working and changes to current page variable are reflected in the UI. Let's go back to the editor, and where we used the onDirective, let's use shorthand. And this is more common to specify the onDirective by using such shorthand form. Let's also make another improvement, and that is when some menu item gets selected, we will disable all clicks on this menu item. It is very easy to do by using another Tailwind CSS class called pointer events none. And now when hovering over currently selected item, cursor will remain arrow and will not be changed to the hand pointer. And at the end, let's also see in console what we will get by printing value of the reactive variable. I'm gonna add console log statement in here. Let's take a look in the console. And as you can see, we got not just a primitive string value, but an object, which stores name of the current page in one of its properties. And all reactive variables created by using function ref have property value, where the value of the reactive variable is stored. And by printing this property in the console, we can see the name of the current page. And Vue makes our lives a little easier by allowing us to reference reactive references within templates without having to manually refer to the value property. And to access reactive variables, we could simply use their names inside of template. Let's go back and change the initial value of the current page variable and finish the lesson.